Now to a developing and heartbreaking story here this evening. 7 children were injured in a mass shooting in Indianapolis late last night. Indiana State Police say they were shot outside of a mall around 11:30 p.m. Police say the 7 children injured were between the ages of 12 and 17. All of them were taken to the hospital, where one is currently listed in critical condition. Police say officers were patrolling downtown when they heard gunshots outside of the mall.
Once again, we have a situation in which young people are resolving conflict with firearms, and it has to stop.
It starts at home. That's the first place. You can look to the police all you want to try to solve these things, and like the chief said, we have plenty of resources in downtown Indianapolis on the weekends to deal with our issues, and yet this occurred.
Police say they believe more than one firearm was involved in this incident. Right now, they do not have any suspects. Just into the newsroom earlier this evening, the woman accused of murdering her 5-year-old son and dumping his body in a suitcase in Indiana has now officially been booked in the Washington County Jail. Dejon Anderson is being charged with murder, neglect of a dependent, and obstruction in connection with the death of Kyra Jordan. Anderson was arrested in Los Angeles earlier this month after a nearly 2-year-long search. She was extradited back to Indiana, and court documents show she was booked in the Washington County Jail early this morning. It's an arrest the small community has been waiting for. Many in Salem, Indiana still bring flowers and toys to Kyra's grave, including the mushroom hunter who found his body 2 years ago. We spoke with Jeff Meredith again after he heard the news of Anderson's arrest. He tells us it's the news he had been hoping for.
And that's when I run over and told Kyra at his gravesite. In my heart, I adopted him as my own. In my heart. And that means a lot to me.
Don Coleman has already pled guilty in connection to Kyra's death as well. Coleman was sentenced to 25 years in prison and 5 years of probation last November. As part of her plea agreement, she will need to testify against Anderson in any criminal case related to Kyra's death. It was another deadly night in the metro. LMPD right now is investigating after 2 crashes left 3 people dead overnight throughout the metro. The first happening just before 3:30 this morning. LMPD say they were called to a head-on collision on Blue Lick Road in Okolona. Police say the 2 cars hit each other near Bonaventure Boulevard. Between the 2 cars, 2 people were killed and 3 others were injured, including 2 children. An hour later, police say officers responded here to a crash on Bardstown Road and Meadow Drive. LMPD believes that a person was pushing a shopping cart down Bardstown Road when a car hit them. They were pronounced dead on the scene. Police do say the driver of the car did remain at the scene. In a legislative session full of controversy and last-minute surprises, Louisville is looking at a number of bills that could impact how its government operates in the future. As legislators pause for the veto period, WHAS11's Connor Steffen and photojournalist Aspen Hester are taking a look at the legislation making waves from Frankfort to right here in the metro.
Coming out of the months-long Kentucky legislative session is a flurry of bills that look to impact Louisvillians, starting with House Bill 388.
The best way to do that is to make sure somebody has to go get votes. And if I have to convince voters all around the county, then that's what I'm going to care about.
The bill looks to change the city's elections by making them nonpartisan. That means for mayoral and metro council elections, there will be no party affiliate next to a candidate's name. The bill is currently waiting on the governor's desk for a signature or a veto.
They want partisan school board elections, but nonpartisan Louisville mayor elections. These are partisan bills, an attacks on the autonomy of the city of Louisville and its ability to govern itself the same way that any other city or county does.
There's also House Bill 18, which would block Louisville from enforcing their own housing ordinances that ban discrimination based on a source of income.
The government was so behind the Section 8 people, and that the Section 8 people were just taking advantage of the fact they didn't have to do anything.
Louisville has this kind of local law to prevent landlords from rejecting tenants solely because they rely on federal housing assistance, including Section 8. Governor Andy Beshear vetoed it at the start of March before the General Assembly overrode the veto. The Senate also passing a resolution to create a task force to examine the possibility of splitting up JCPS as a decision on a transportation plan looms for the board.
You know, we'll be considering their decisions and just look at a broad scope of things as we go through and forward with this task force.
The committee will be made up of lawmakers, educators, and members of the public to evaluate how the school district manages itself.
And the idea that the state legislature, anytime they disagree with Louisville, can take a vote, and a whole bunch of people that live outside of Louisville can change policy made by the city of Louisville, it's just outrageous.
A recommendations report is due in December. In Louisville, Connor Steffen, WHAS 11, on your side.
Legislators will return to Frankfort on April 12th when the veto period ends, where they'll have a chance to vote to override any of the governor's vetoes.